Hey guys, welcome back to the course. In this lecture, we're going to get a little more advanced and talk about finding things that are topical and related to your product. For those of you paying close attention, I'm sure you're thinking, wait, didn't we talk about news already? You are right, we did. And why, thank you for paying attention, fictitious viewer. You're probably the same fictitious viewer that asked me to give them a website quote based off of the description, new social media app. That was it. If you're still out there, the answer is $1 million. Yes, we did talk about following news trends and stories before, but this is a bit different. This is different because, number one, something doesn't need to have happened right now to be useful for you, and two, we can use blogs. Blogs are spelled B-L-A-G-S and pronounced blags. We can use blags instead of just what news stories people are talking about at any given moment on Twitter. And before you post in the Slack group that there's no news or blog posts about your industry, every industry has some sort of news or blogs covering it somewhere on the internet. They are out there, you just have to do a little bit of thinking and a little bit of digging. By the end of this lecture, we'll have covered some easy ways to find topical news and relevant blogs for your space. So the idea behind this strategy is that we're gonna go out, search and destroy, find some blags and news that are related to our space and what we're doing, figure out who interacted with the same said blags and news, and then use that as a way to build a list of pre-qualified users that we can then tweet at and interact with on Twitter. Like, duh. If you're just mindlessly sifting through Twitter, as about 80 million people do a day, you aren't going to be able to very effectively tell who is interested in your space or in the problem that you're trying to solve. This is one way of flushing those users out. Okay, so to better conceptualize this, let's use another example business so you can kind of get a better idea of how this works. Let's say your product is, I don't know, a time management app. Maybe your app has some sort of unique approach to time management for super busy people or something like that. Let's say your productivity app is a mobile app that helps people decide what to delegate. If the task is boring, mind-numbingly repetitive, and may or may not include some sort of bodily fluid, well, that's what interns are for, and I'm sure this app is there to remind you of that. Now, since you've probably spent a ton of time researching different time management concepts while you were coming up with the product, I'm guessing you already have a few blog posts or news articles saved somewhere that are on your favorites for the subject. Those bookmarked articles and pieces of news are a great place to start from. Now, if you've been living in a cave since the internet was created, you just recently re-entered civilized society, you saw sunlight, then you saw that Donald Trump was president and you didn't go back into your cave. Oh, and you somehow immediately made a time management app for busy people without actually doing any research on the internet. Well, first of all, welcome back. And second of all, wow, that is honestly impressive. So if you're not what I just described, then keep those articles you have saved somewhere. We'll keep them for a bit later. A good rule of thumb for this technique is to compile about 5 articles, because some articles are going to work better than others. If you have 5 in mind already, congratulations, you are not a caveman. Now, if you don't have 5 articles or any at all, don't worry, because now we're going to go over 2 different ways to find some that will help us connect with more early customers the way we just previously described. One is Google, I'm sure you heard of that one, but we'll use it in a way that you might not actually know about. And the second one we're gonna do is a tool called BuzzSumo. And we are going to use both of them to find you some more customers on Twitter. Okay, so for the first one, let's jump over to our trusty friend Google, who has never led us astray, and search for something that fits your industry or might describe your product. For this example, remember, we're working with a time management app, so let's search for time management. Instead of just searching regularly, we're going to click on News here up at the top. That way we won't see a lot of other stuff because it's articles that we're actually interested in. Now, depending on what you're searching for, sometimes Google sticks it in the More section. No one knows why. Well, I do know why, because algorithms. All right, so there we go. Now we can see some recent articles on the topic. Let's pick one and just check it out. Honestly, though, the actual content of the post isn't all that important. As long as the title makes sense, it's related to your product, and the article is written by what looks like a reputable source or a relevant looking blog domain, then it should work fine for what we're going to do with it. What's most important though is whether or not people are sharing this article we found on Twitter. Now let's copy the URL, the selected article, and head over to search.twitter.com, which we used in a previous demo, and plug it in. You're going to probably see a lot of companies tweeting out articles like this. Just ignore those. You want to find real, actual people who are so into time management that they just had to share it with their followers. They're the type of people that probably use standing desks, dual monitors, and say things like crushing it all the time. Once you found a couple of those, then reply to them like we talked about in an earlier lecture. If you don't remember how to do that without sounding like a spammy sales guy, well, basically you just want to find something they wrote or shared and use that as a way to say something legitimately related to it. Once you get them into a conversation, you can introduce the product or continue the conversation with the idea in mind that you will later introduce it. All right, so that is it. You use Google to find an article, to find people who shared that article, and we know because they shared the article, they're interested in that topic. Let's start a conversation with them. Once you do that, it's very easy to get them to look at your website. Presumably, if what you're selling is worthwhile, they could possibly buy it. All right, now on to the second tool, BuzzSumo. Now, BuzzSumo is a paid tool, and it costs like $100 a month, I think, but you can get limited access without paying or even creating an account. And I'm pretty sure if you really want to go farther with this, they have a free trial period. We're just trying to get you your first 10 customers in this section, so there's really no need to spend roughly 52 orders of large French fries from McDonald's on it per month. True story, I actually have a friend who does that McDonald's French fries calculation to prevent them from buying things and apparently to justify eating more French fries. So we head over to buzzsumo.com. As you can see, there is a search bar right there on the homepage. This is where we'll plug in the keyword time management again, just like we did on Google. And that way we can see a list of articles related to time management. Okay, so now we see a list of articles sorted by the amount of total shares. You can also see the website they're from and when they were published right here below the link. We can open a couple of these up in a new tab, check them out briefly to make sure they make sense like we talked about a moment ago. Again, some might make sense and some might not at all. And then we can just copy the URL of the article and do the exact same thing we did with Twitter. Remember, search.twitter.com, find the people that shared it, interact with those people. What's really great about BuzzSumo is that you're not only gonna find stuff that was shared more widely, but you're also gonna find stuff that's still being shared by people, even though it wasn't published earlier, say, today. So the people that are reading these and sharing these articles were probably actually searching for something related to it, or, this example, time management, and it's very possible they're looking for some sort of solution to their time management problems. They actively went out and sought this information out. Another great thing about BuzzSumo is we don't have to dig around articles to figure out which ones have been shared. This is automatically sorted for us. So why exactly do we use Google then as well in addition to this? Well, give you a pretty quick answer for that one. It's free and it has better coverage. All right, so those are super simple but very effective way to find people that are interested in your product and then isolate them on a platform where you can easily communicate to them and get their attention. Just remember Google News and BuzzSumo. If you're having a rough time with it, just post to the Slack group and we'll see if we can help you out. See you in the next lecture where we're going to go over one last strategy that utilizes sweet Twitter. See you then.